just say a couple of words of context, if I could. The first is that we're very pleased, obviously, that earlier this week the federal budget was passed by Parliament, the first step in passing the federal budget. And there are many things in that budget, but two of the objectives are relevant to this trip.
Right now, the financial world is in shock. Shocking news from behind the scenes of the energy industry is rewriting the rules of the game between two economic giants. At the most unexpected moment, while Washington is plagued by scandals and trade wars, Canada is making a move that will change the balance of power for decades to come. An unexpected agreement with the most influential royal family in the Emirates, which no one saw coming even in their wildest predictions, could permanently remove the country from American control and make it a new center of attraction for global capital. Why are the biggest players in the market literally fighting for the right to invest in Canadian projects? What is behind the secret negotiations that did not make it into any official reports? Officials are silent, but behind the scenes, everything has already been decided. Closed-door meetings are discussing sums that could redraw the economic map of the world. Could anyone have imagined a year ago that Canadian exports would bypass all American ports? How are those who are used to dictating terms on the world stage reacting? They say that the negotiations took place not over weeks, but over just a few days, all in order to circumvent Donald Trump's Twitter wars and his unpredictable policies. Sources in financial circles whisper that trillions are being distributed, and the focus is not on Washington, but on the top managers of the world's largest sovereign investment funds. No official would dare to confirm the scale of this agreement, but the impact of the meetings is already visible on the charts of Asian stock exchanges. Why will new export routes become possible, and why are political intrigues, risky alliances, and unprecedented investments behind every decision? In this issue, you will learn why the mainstream news missed the key details, who really controls Canada's future, and how secret agreements could change the fate of several continents. You will discover the hidden negotiations between government delegations, major banks, and financial magnates. Journalists have already overheard conversations that shocked even the most experienced analysts. Canada's former dependence on the United States is being called into question, and a completely new axis of cooperation is coming to the fore, where decisions are made not by politicians' statements, but by giant investment portfolios. Tomorrow we may see the first information about new memoranda that will open the way for Canada to the markets of Asia and Europe. Instead of the usual reports for bureaucrats, there will be live broadcasts from future construction sites, comments from representatives of the Arab nobility, and unexpected statements from economists warning of a turning point in Canadian history. Our sources claim that the foundation is being laid right now, not only for a new oil route, but also for the creation of a financial shield that will protect the entire country from American sanctions. Stay with us. Ahead of us are exclusive footage, insider information, sensational revelations, and answers to questions about who really controls the global economy. This story is more than just international relations. It is a battle for independence, for control between two powers, and for your future. Don't change the channel. You're on the channel where you'll find out the truth before anyone else. Imagine the moment when, in the center of Toronto, the air police receive a signal about a momentous event that could turn the economic map of North America upside down. That was the night when a meeting took place in Abu Dhabi that everyone was talking about, but almost no one understood the real scale of. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, a man whose name is now associated with economic revolution, set foot in the United Arab Emirates not for the usual visits and protocol meetings, but to announce to the world a decisive shift in global trade. For the first time in more than 40 years, the country signed an agreement with the Emirates to attract an unprecedented amount of investment, more than $70 billion, which, according to official data, will transform Canada into a new energy and technology hub, completely independent of the former power influences of its neighbors to the south. Behind the scenes, something much bigger than just an exchange of pleasantries was taking place. Those who had access to the closed negotiations spoke of how strategic projects for the construction of a northern oil pipeline were discussed in the private halls of the UAE's palaces, a huge, powerful project of ideological significance for the country's future, capable of bypassing U.S. ports and opening up direct exports to Asia. According to diplomatic sources, this large-scale project was discussed as a matter of urgency, and everyone expected an immediate financial breakthrough. Emirati investors, controlling trillions of dollars, did not just show interest. They committed to financing infrastructure that would change Canada's entire approach to international trade. At that moment, a number of geopolitical experts recognized that this was not just an economic deal, but a hidden capitulation of Canada's dependence on the unstable and chaotic policies of the Trump administration. After endless trade wars and tariff threats, it seemed impossible to find reliable partners. However, from the very beginning of his premiership, Carney has focused on diversification, understanding that Canada's future requires new alliances and large-scale investments. His visit to the UAE was the culmination of years of behind-the-scenes work, negotiations, presentations, and trust building. Some circles call this a quiet revolution that politicians will not notice, but businesses and ordinary people across the country will feel. Incidentally, the Emirates did not open their coffers for no reason. Behind this support lies a strategic understanding. Their sovereign wealth funds exceed $3 trillion, and they have long been looking for projects with high economic transformation potential that could provide guaranteed returns while strengthening their position in the global market. This visit made it clear that Canada has finally ceased to be a country in the shadows and has become a partner that presents concrete, feasible development plans. For decades, infrastructure projects were either postponed or curtailed under the pressure of political games. Now, with the support of powerful investors, they have a chance to come to fruition. The most intriguing thing is that before Carney's arrival, the diplomatic community in Abu Dhabi read the signal. They were not just welcoming a guest, but preparing for fundamental changes. Extraordinary advisors were sent to him. Representatives of the royal family themselves arranged meetings with fund managers, and business negotiations began long before the official ceremonies. Eyewitness impressions vary. This is not a visit by a politician, but by a man who holds the keys to major investments, noted one observer. While political instability rages in the U.S. leadership, a strategy is unfolding in the UAE that, as it is implemented, will radically change Canada's economic landscape. It is also noted that the topics of discussion included not only energy and infrastructure, but also technology, artificial intelligence, logistics, and the processing of critical minerals. The Canadian proposals were so impressive that even Western analysts began to change their forecasts. They suggest that in the coming years, Canada will be able to significantly increase exports and reduce its dependence not only on the U.S., but also on traditional markets. According to information obtained from the front lines of the delegations, the new trade axis will include the accelerated construction of a northern oil pipeline, ports, transport corridors, and advanced technologies, which will allow direct deliveries to Asian markets without complex American intermediaries. All this creates conditions for greater economic independence and flexibility in strategic decision-making. Mark Carney, already considered one of the most influential prime ministers in Canadian history, concluded his visit without the traditional loud statements, but with a clear understanding of his goal: to create long-term and reliable alliances that will provide Canada with new economic leadership and stability. This precedent is already being called historic, as Canada has not had this level of agreement and investment since 1983. Carney skillfully uses not only official levers, but also a policy of trust, carefully paving the way for new partnerships that, according to insiders, will change the country's destiny and set an example for many middle powers seeking independence in an unstable world. With current international challenges, trade wars, stock market instability, and intensifying global competition, today's visit and the agreements reached are a breath of fresh air. The emergence of a new strategy, where real projects, large-scale investments, and cooperation at the highest level are the key to future success. This is in stark contrast to the political declarations and superficial decisions that dominated the agenda until recently. All this proves that the time for change has come, and it began with Mark Carney's visit to the UAE. To join the economic game at a new level, or remain in the past, the choice is now Canada's. The fundamental changes mentioned earlier actually go deeper and are embedded in subtle details that do not appear in official reports. For decades, Canadian economic policy has been held captive by uncertainty, frozen projects, and internal disagreements that have prevented major initiatives from being implemented. Despite all their declarations, previous governments were unable to offer investors anything truly substantial. Projects were postponed under the pretext of environmental reviews, and energy corridors remained on paper. This situation caused increasing frustration among global players. However, Mark Carney and his team's visit changed the strategy. Concrete plans were proposed for where to invest capital, plans with high potential for economic transformation, and realistic deadlines. It was this paradigm shift that caught the attention of the Emirates and forced them to change their attitude toward Canada as a partner. Notably, behind the scenes of the negotiations, information emerged about plans to create a comprehensive financial architecture that would allow Canada to move beyond the influence of unstable American politics. The Emirates clearly see the importance of supporting allies capable of countering Washington's impulsive decisions. Coordination at this level calls into question previous strategies, when Canada was too dependent on American routes and markets rather than its own economic independence. We have heard that the discussion was not just about an oil pipeline, but an entire strategic corridor, including transport, technology, and energy hubs, which together form a sustainable system of export and financial interaction. Against this backdrop, interesting, albeit as yet unpublished, facts are emerging. According to insider information, the possibility of creating a joint fund to finance Canada over the next few decades was discussed in closed session rooms in Abu Dhabi. This is not just an investment agreement, but a kind of strategic alliance with the formation of mechanisms that will accelerate the implementation of projects without bureaucratic delays. Such steps are radically different from previous approaches, where decisions could be blocked at the provincial or political committee level. According to sources within the negotiation process, this fund for the future could become a financial shield that will save Canada from economic shocks and sanctions if they are applied by the US. Even more intriguing is that a series of behind-the-scenes agreements were discussed during the latest negotiations. For example, there are plans to launch several technology zones that will be supported not only by funding from the UAE, but also by joint consultations on innovation in energy and logistics. This is not just an economic exchange. It is the development of a joint strategy that will take into account global challenges such as climate change and new sustainability requirements. Some experts have already suggested that these technology zones will surpass even their counterparts in major global centers, creating a unique cluster in northern North America. It is noted that Emirati diplomacy has a keen understanding of the geopolitical landscape and that the timing is critical for them to choose the right partners. While some competitors are still hesitant amid sanctions and Trump's unstable policies, they are skillfully taking advantage of the opportunity presented. Emirati delegates have already announced their intention to increase their presence in the Canadian market for many years to come, and their sovereign wealth funds are ready to invest in strategically important projects, not just for profit, but to create a new balance of power that will be resistant to any external shocks. Despite the secrecy surrounding what is happening, friendly and diplomatic sources say that closed-door negotiations are a real network brain, where key decisions for decades to come are formed. Issues are decided there that are not then publicized at press conferences, because big decisions require delicacy and time to prepare the infrastructure and political support.